Alright, so as you can see, there's a glaring issue here. His wrist peg snapped off when I was trying to take pictures for the striker pose segment. I was articulating the wrist and it just snapped off. I've never had that with any Dragon Ball figure, third party or the official releases with Tamashii. And honestly, when it first happened, I was like, it's cool, it's cool. It's not. And then I just went from that kind of angry state to being just disappointed. And, you know, the first warning I'll have in this video before we even get to accessories is when you're articulating this figure, of course, try to be very gentle with the wrist pegs. But I've never had that happen with any figure that I've had from S.h.figuarts. Or even some of the third-party stuff. And actually, we're going to get into that later. Because I have had QC issues with Kong Studios before. And I don't know. Let's just get into the accessory. Okay, so kicking it off, you get two Big Bang Attack hands. And funny enough, the other Big Bang Attack hand is the one where the peg snapped off into. I'll put a picture of that up somewhere in the video. Two martial arts pose hands, two fist hands, and one blast hand. Basically, the gesture he used when he turned Majin Buu into a donut. Okay, so for faces, he comes with this crazy smiling face, which I think is the best face that he comes with. Also, it's bloody. And by the way, the blood on this figure, the blood painting on this figure doesn't look very good at all. I think it looks maybe just passable, but it looks very cheap. And ironically, that's the only part I think that looks cheap on the figure, the bloody part. Everything else looks pretty up to par. But moving on. One stoic face with his mouth slightly open, and I don't know why they did this face. They should have just did a teeth gritting face, because this face is, have they ever really shown Vegeta making this face? Well, actually, I lied. That's the face he's making when he first transforms into Ultra Ego, so my bad. But I don't know what to make of it. Maybe they should have painted inside the mouth. I don't know. I guess it's cool. And you get one yelling face, but I don't really know how I feel about the paint job on the teeth and the mouth. I guess it's passable. It's okay. Definitely not anything, you know, super stellar. And now that I'm looking at it on camera, it looks like there's a little blue paint bleeding on the chest. So that's not very good. And I'm trying my hardest not to go super in on this figure because the wrist peg broke. Or I guess you could say, one could argue that I broke it. But I've never had that issue. Like, once again, never had that issue with any other figure. Well, we'll get into that later. But moving on. Okay, so for this next part, I want y'all to pay close attention because we're still in the accessory segment, but we have to swap his head, right? I'm gonna try to pull his head off. Look, the whole joint pops off. Now, that is super annoying. Why is it a super annoying? Because every time I've had to, hold on, it's out of focus. But every time I've had to switch the head out, or I wanted to switch the head out with the other head, which, hold on, let me bring it on real quick. Right here, we're going to show you. And we got to talk about, this is a whole conversation in itself, because this is very interesting. But every time I switch the head out, I have to go and get some hot water so the plastic could expand, so I can take this joint out, peg it back into the neck, and then put the head on. So that's super annoying and definitely something worth noting. I don't know if it's just my copy of the figure or not, but definitely warning y'all about that. Still moving forward with the accessories, the Monocle Fit gave us something very interesting here. They gave us a what if head. Now, his head, what if head, I'm assuming it's supposed to be what if Vegeta got Ultra Instinct, but it looks, as my friend said, more like Super Saiyan Glass. And I have to say, for me, I think it looks pretty cool, but all they did is take the Ultra Ego head and faceplates and palette swap them, which is not what Ultra Instinct would be on Vegeta. He'd still have his eyebrows and things of that nature if he went Ultra Instinct. But with that being said, the hair is translucent, so I don't know why they made that decision, to be honest. They could have just painted it white and gave it like a gray wash and called it a day, or they could have painted it silver, whichever they would have preferred to do. Either way, moving on to the next faceplate. I've gone insane face, which another thing to note is that these faces, none of them have blood on them, and they also mentioned that the blood is on this figure is apparently you can remove it fairly easily. Now, I haven't tried to, for the sake of keeping the figure in its original state the best that I could, besides of course the broken wrist peg. However, I think that will also explain the cheap paint look to it. But moving on, with a calm, relaxed face, a stoic face. So for head swaps, are they possible? That's a resounding yes, obviously. One thing I will say is, once again, because the peg hole is kind of small on the Kong Studios head, what you're going to want to do is put that in some hot water so that plastic can expand, so you can easily pop the head on and off. So even when you're taking it off, you're going to have to soak the head, because you don't want to just yank it off. If I were you, I would just take the whole figure and then just have the head resting in the hot water for a little bit, like 15 to 20 seconds, and allow the plastic to expand so you can easily pop the head off. Now, for putting the Tamashii Nations head on the Kong Studios body, it's going to be a tight fit, and you can't fit it on. Just be mindful and be wary about damaging your head potentially because of the tightness. Once again, you can leave it in some hot water and let the plastic expand for, you know, the safest and easiest way of removal. Other than that, everything is pretty kosher. The other thing I'll say is that, I'm going to post a picture up real quick, but the purple on the hair does not match the source material. Definitely a different type of purple. This purple has a lot more blue to it. The source material has more of a, it's still purple, but it's kind of magenta purple. So I say that to say that purple has a lot more red to it. Either way, that's pretty much to tell that tape. We're going to move on to articulation, and then we have a Rant incoming. For articulation, his head looks up that far, down, decent amount. As you push it down so far, the faceplate actually stays on pretty well. Rotation side to side, no problem at all. Head tilt and more nuanced movement for different poses works very well. Oh, faceplate just popped off, so be wary of that when articulating your figure. Going off to the side, not quite 90, so that's okay. Definitely not the 360-degree arm rotation. Fly joint works decently. Going backwards is whatever. And by the way, does anybody know why they call that joint a butterfly joint? He can lean back. Let's see. Can we go back further? Oh, head popped off again. Face popped off again. We're going to keep on going, then I'll put it on for the next segment. Decently far. Leans forward. Wow. The hits just keep on coming. Hold on. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the figure. He can lean forward pretty far. If he leans forward, you're going to get some gapping from the back, but it's decent. It's fake decent. At the diaphragm, he turns slightly, and at the waist, you get a more definitive waist twist. Bevel jointed elbow works fine. Wrist hinge and swivel works fine, I guess. What's going out to the side is actually pretty good. Beyond perfect front to back splits. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee. For the ankles, you get a nice ankle swivel. Okay ankle rocker. It tilts up that far, tilts down that far. So the ankle articulation is pretty limited. You get a toe hinge, which is whatever. Okay, so instead of the striker pose segment that we usually have in this portion of the video, we got a mini rant. Before we start, that silver lining I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the silver lining is that if you have another Vegeta figure with the 2.0 body, you could pretty much swap the head. So if you have like the Super Saiyan God Vegeta, or if you have another Margin Vegeta body, you could take the head off of this figure, the heads off of this figure, you know, of course, put them in the water, the hot water, so the peg could fit inside the hole of the head. But That's the silver lining. Now, my rant is with Kong Studios, so I don't know about other people, but my experience with Kong Studios hasn't been the best. Now, I've reviewed the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku on the channel, and it was okay. And I've reviewed the Kong Studios Super Saiyan Blue Capsule Corp Vegito, which was pretty good. And I've reviewed the Capsule Corp Goku, which could have been pretty good, but it had some QC issues. Now, the thing is, and also, one thing I haven't reviewed, and for a reason, is the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. Now, the problem with these figures is that they all had QC issues, except maybe the Vegito was fine, and the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku was fine. It's just that the articulation wasn't the best. But this Kong Studio, this figure, the Kong Studios Capsule Corp Goku, and the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. And don't get me, let's start with the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. I ordered that figure, and I would have reviewed it, but it was a whole bunch of things wrong with it. Like, at this point, it's like basically destroyed. Now, what do I mean by that? One, the head. I remember trying to pop the head off of the joint, and back then they used more of a ball hinge type of system, like Tamashii does. And the head, basically, the joint split in half. The joint part, the hinge part. And I couldn't, it was stuck inside the neck of the figure as well. So not only did it break, but it split in half.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So that was horrible. And then one of the legs was shorter than the other. I don't like, maybe it's just my luck with Kong Studios, because I haven't had this issue with the monocle fit. And hopefully I won't moving forward. And hopefully I won't have this issue with Kong Studios moving forward, because they have some cool stuff coming out. But this is bad, you know. And with this figure, the wrist hinge snapped off and it's stuck inside one of the hands. And every time I want to swap the head, I have to dunk it in hot water. This is no good. This is no bueno. This is basura, actually. But I just had to get that off my chest. And I'm extra annoyed because my lady was kind enough to get this figure for my birthday, and this is what happens. You know, this is, you know, it's disappointing to say the least. Like, at first I was upset, but now I'm just kind of disappointed because I think this is a fairly fun figure to pose around. I had a bunch of ideas for the Strike a Pose segment for this figure, but now it just won't be done. I'm not posing with a broken figure. Having something as simple as the wrist popping off, I think it takes away from the fun factor of the figure, because now you're looking at this man like he got a pirate hand, or he's just like put a hook there, you know? I don't know, man. This is kind of just like a long rambling, but this is the rant. Like, this, I don't know, man. As you can see, I'm discombobulated about this shit, because it's, I don't know. This is disappointing. Kind of frustrating, but at the end of the day, you know, it's just a toy. Not that big of a deal, but also somebody spent their money on this. A lady spent her money on this, and now I have to review it. And also, this is a pretty aesthetically pleasing figure. Like, the way the fabric pulls over the muscles, and you can see that the fabric is lightening as the tension from it being pulled over the muscles happens. It's very nicely done. And even on the arms, of course, it's like there's some variation with the skin tone on the sides of the arms. Now, it kind of looks like he got sunburned on his arms, but you know, at the very least, I can respect that they tried. And of course, with the blood is, it just looks cheap. But overall, I think those things don't detract too much from the overall look of the figure, because even with the blood looking cheap, it doesn't, like, I feel like the paintwork on the outfit, the jumpsuit, is so well done that it makes up for that. But either way, moving on to height, and then, you know, closing thoughts, whether you should get the figure or not. I think you know the answer to that already, but in case you want to stay with me, you know. Okay, so to the top of his hair, he's about 6 inches tall. For size comparisons, here's Vegeta next to Ultra Instinct Goku, undersized Piccolo, Super Saiyan Broly. Now we're going to start off with the overall ratings for the figure. Aesthetically, 8 out of 10. Articulation, I give him 8.5 out of 10. And for accessories, I'll give him 8.5 out of 10. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to average that out, but it's going to get minus 3 points for the QC issues. That is unacceptable. So the overall objective rating for this figure is going to be, it averaged out to 8.3 out of 10, but I'm taking off 3 points because that peg breaking off is really annoying, and having to put the head in some hot water every time I want to swap out the head is super annoying. For me at least. For a person that's taking a bunch of pictures. Now subjectively, oh man. I really want to give this figure like a 4 out of 10 just because of how disappointed I am. But I'll give it like 6 out of 10 objectively. Now, overall objectively. Now, should you get this figure? Now, I can't say all that I've said and then turn around and be like, yo, get this figure. I feel like that would be mad fake of me to do that. So, I would say buy this if you want. I can't recommend this because of those 2 QC issues that bother me a lot. Now, somebody could come across this video and be like, oh, you know, you're exaggerating, you're being extra. Or they could even be like, hey, you're just being extra rough with the figure. Now, like I said, I haven't had this issue with other figures, even some of Kong Studios' other figures, with the exception of the one that I mentioned before that left a bad taste in my mouth. It's just still, I believe as of this recording, the figure is still available, so if you want to pick them up, go pick them up. It's on 5ktoys.com. They have 2 versions. They have one that's not battle damaged like this one, and you have the one that's comes with the, and you have this one. So the non-battle damage one, which comes with the Super Saiyan 3 hair, and you have this one that comes with the fake Ultra Instinct hair and the Ultra Ego hair. So I would say buy this at your own risk. It could be that I just got a faulty copy, but I can't review other people's copies. This is the copy that I got, so there you have it. Until next time, BombasticPlastic out.